Chair, through the Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, the Chinese Communist Party has been spreading its malign influence over the last decade. This initiative has one goal: to increase China's economic and political dominance over the United States and the world. Disguised as harmless global infrastructure, transportation, and production networks, the Belt and Road Initiative, or the BRI, is anything but harmless. Education is one of the primary targets of the BRI, and they're succeeding in their mission to indoctrinate American students with their communist ideals. Chinese state media even brags about the success of Confucius Institutes and other educational initiatives in spreading the CCP's influence. This doesn't stop on our college campuses. Right now, China is invading our K-12 schools through Confucius Classrooms. Over the last decade or more, the CCP has infiltrated our public school system in setting up Chinese language and cultural programs in primary and secondary schools. These Confucius Classrooms are funded by the Chinese government, both directly and through Confucius Institutes and other third parties. Make no mistake, this is not through the kindness of their hearts. The CCP is not interested at all in helping American students learn Mandarin. They want to brainwash our children, plain and simple. Since 2013, the authoritarian government of the People's Republic of China has sent curriculum and PRC-trained teachers into hundreds of K-12 schools across America as an unofficial component of its global influence campaign. The CCP has committed countless violations of human rights, and its authoritarian agenda is antithetical to the democratic principles of our country and what it was founded on. Chinese propaganda has no place in our education system. We have taken important steps towards mitigating Chinese influence in American universities by cracking down on Confucius Institutes. Now that the Chinese government has directed its attention toward elementary and secondary schools, it is time we do the same, protect our children from the malign influence of the CCP. My amendment would prevent federal funding for these Confucius Classrooms. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. Does any member claim in opposition?
Claim the time in opposition.
Okay, the gentlewoman is recognized.
I rise in opposition to this amendment. In the past few years, most of the institutes that are targeted, as I understand it, by this amendment, or Confucius Classrooms that are affiliated with them have closed down. And according to the data from the Congressional Research Service and the National Academy of Scholars, we know that compared to 2019, when there were over 100 Confucius Institutes nationwide, there are now only a handful that operate in the United States, between 7 and 10. So they're not still operating. And given the rate, they may continue to plummet. But I'm struck by this amendment by exaggerating the threat and the proliferation of these kinds of classrooms. It seems to be spreading misleading information that creates fear. And the fear that's caused by these exaggerations lead to harm toward Asian American students and teachers. Now, to be honest, I don't know, and I would like to examine this, but they were teaching the Chinese language, Chinese culture. It may be where there were learning experiences, and I don't know the answer to that. I just know that this does not appear to be a difficulty, and I worry about spreading misleading information that creates fear. We have all seen in these areas what happens when fear and misinformation is spread, and it has resulted in violence against Asian American students, Asian American teachers, which is not something I believe my colleague would foster. I certainly don't want to, or that our colleagues want to foster. Honestly, based on the available data, I think we can conclude that this amendment does not address any measurable threat to our system of public education, and quite honestly, is not being offered in good faith. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Madam Chair, I appreciate the chair lady recognizing that these institutions are closing down in record numbers. It must be that they're so successful that we're identifying these, and the school systems are identifying these, and states now have cleansed out a lot of their higher education Confucius institutes. That tells you right there that the Chinese government has been very persistent in getting after educating our younger students across America. We should have more love for our students at our secondary and elementary schools. Again, higher ed across America has understood the influence that the Chinese government has tried to do in making their impact on American economy. When you see what they've done across the world, it doesn't take a whole lot of research just to simply go look at Wikipedia, if you'd like, to see what they've done across all the nations across the world as they try to express their influence and take over the world. It would be very naive of us, and I know the chair lady knows this, it would be very naive of us to sit back and allow this to happen one school at a time. We have a lot of other issues in America we need to address in our education system, and not allowing the Chinese government to take over our elementary schools will simply be a very easy fix for us, and that's what my amendment does, and I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. This gentlelady from Connecticut seek recognition.
I do. I'm really quite troubled with this, and I need to express this. It seems to me that what is happening here with the amendment is that it seems to incite, again, misinformation and fear. I don't, quite frankly, don't know if there is any evaluation or tangible results of what the effect of the Institute or the classrooms were and are. They seem to have gone away. I think of it in these terms. My family are immigrants from Italy. And if, you know, there were teaching about the Italian culture, teaching the Italian language, and again, I don't know. I really now piqued an interest in trying to look and investigating what we're talking about. But that what would happen, would there be this view that somehow the Italian government was taking over and somehow brainwashing our kids or taking our kids down a wrong path? We seem to be casting aspersions with this amendment on Chinese culture and education in the guise of the Chinese government. And I suspect that that has a chilling effect, and quite frankly, you could say this about any cultural group or ethnic group who was working with youngsters in our community. And so I find this amendment to be very, very troubling, more so than I ever thought. And I think we have discerned no measurable threat to our system of public education. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this amendment.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
With all due respect, Italy is not trying to conquer our nation. The Department of Education and the Department of State have sent a letter to schools urging them not to participate in these programs. Confucius Classrooms have been set up in several countries, including Australia and Canada, where state and local governments have canceled their contracts over concern of Chinese propaganda. With all due respect to my chair lady on the other side, we're not talking about simply teaching language. We're talking about teaching the Chinese way of how to take over a government from the inside out. We see enough of what's coming across the southern border and not knowing who's here. When we have the ability to control these issues through the legislative process, we should take our time to do that. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Oklahoma. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.